Bem-vindos, welcome, bem-vindes ao Immersive Talk do Brasil Immersive Fashion Week, laboratório de conexão e experiências entre moda e tecnologia. Meu nome é Lara Azevedo e se essa é a sua primeira vez por aqui, te convido a visitar o nosso site brifw.com para conhecer melhor a nossa plataforma, participar da nossa comunidade criativa e ainda acompanhar de perto os papos incríveis dessa primeira edição. Hoje, nós vamos entrar no processo criativo da Tabitha Swanson, designer gráfica e artista digital sediada em Berlim. Ela vai nos contar um pouco da sua relação com a Nike, sua visão do mercado de filtros e de realidade aumentada e vai passar pelo software que ela trabalha, o Sparkle AR. Então, se você tem curiosidade e gostaria de entender mais, não perca essa apresentação. Tabitha, welcome. We're very glad to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited for this. Yeah, we can pop right in. So I've made a presentation, and in this presentation, it'll be shared with y'all. So if you don't catch anything during this, definitely you can follow along later. Yeah, and I have some links in here. I have some useful information. So yeah, let's start. I'm going to share my screen. And then we can go from there. Okay, so welcome everyone. Yeah, so we're gonna go over today Instagram and Facebook face filters. So a little bit of an introduction. Here are the content, so welcome. In this presentation, we'll go over the recent project with Nike that I did, as well as some pricing, limitations, possibilities within the Spark AR software, as current as it is at this point in time, what different types of filters are good for, the do's and don'ts, insights into filters I've made, research into filters, ROI for anyone working in marketing, pitching to brands, etc., stuff like that. This presentation will also be good in like a very holistic sense, so we'll go over how to approach it from a campaign perspective, how to approach it from, you know, a designer perspective, and also just anyone who has general interest in it. So moving on, we'll go over, yeah, about me, what are face filters, the Nike project, possibilities, which ones perform best, budgets and timelines, how to upload them, analytics, stuff like that. And then we'll have a little session at the end where we'll go over it. But about me, so I'm a multidisciplinary designer and a creative technologist. Before filters, I was working with 3D animation, UX, UI, general design. And before that, I was previously working in marketing and fashion, which I think is also really interesting than giving a presentation here, having come from like a fashion background. If you want to look at more of my work, my Instagram is Tabitha Swanson _ and a lot of my filters are available through there as well. Some filters I've worked on, clients include Nike, Origins, Reebok, Vogue, Dynamo, the Black Market, Vans, Zalando. This is a short example one I made for the Black Market. It was like Matrix themed and yeah, really a lot of fun. So before we launch into the Nike project, I want to give a bit of a background on what face filters are. So what are they? How do they work? And yeah, so face filters are a form of augmented reality, AR. They, as most people know, were available through Snapchat previously, but I think that they really became even more popular through Instagram and Facebook. And so how do they work? It's through machine learning, and it's taking the average face. It's able to track where people's eyes and mouths are. And then the model adjusts and creates a mesh. And it's a facial recognition process, essentially. But yeah, there's more information on that online, and there'll be links in here that you can check out later if you want to learn more about the technical aspects of it. But from here, I want to go into the Nike project. So with Nike, this was really exciting. They asked me, Inez Alpha, and my friend Danny Intersexy to do a face filter project where we were 3 face filter influencers. They asked us to participate in making filters for a scavenger hunt. So this was for the launch of the Air Max 2090. And essentially what happened in this campaign was they got all of the people who wanted to participate to use all 3 of the filters, tag us in them, and essentially like one filter led to another. So Inez had a filter, and she was like, you know, if you want to try the next filter in this campaign, go to Intersexy. And then Danny Intersexy said, if you want to, you know, do the next filter in this campaign, go to Tabitha. And it was a really interesting journey for people to kind of go through this process, see all the different ways that all 3 of us designers had made different filters for this campaign. And it really took them through a journey. Once they did all of this and used the hashtags like Air Max Hunt, Nike, and Zalando, they were entered to win a pair of shoes. One really interesting aspect of this project that I'll get into a little bit later is that Corona lockdown happened. And so initially with this project, we were going to, you know, do this, have a fashion shoot with us, like in a campaign, and a few other things. But because of that, you know, the photo shoot was canceled. We really had to pivot. It took a little bit longer than initially imagined. And yeah, as this pandemic was happening, it was so interesting to see how the project changed. For example, so on this next page, here are the drafts, and the one at the very leftmost side is actually the first one that I had. And then the one at the rightmost side is the last one that we ended up in. There were a lot of them in between, but these were kind of more of the main ones of concepts that I sent over. And so this was quite interesting because with this project initially, like I was thinking Air Max, you know, clouds, air, etc., etc. And it had initially been approved, and then, you know, because Corona is like an airborne virus and a bunch of stuff like that, we ended up having to change the concept quite a bit because, of course, with the you know, pandemic, it was a very sensitive topic, and we wanted to stay away from anything to do with like air and, you know, breathing and clouds and stuff like that. So we ended up going with these 3D shoes revolving around the head, which at the end of the day, I think made for a stronger filter. But yeah, you can kind of see the progression, even with like butterflies and things flying in the air, anything to do with air, we kind of stayed away from. So that was quite interesting. And also understanding kind of the intentions of working on a corporate project like this, and also how much, you know, obviously Nike doesn't want to do damage to their brand, and Zalando and stuff like that. And when dealing with a world crisis, it was a very unique experience and quite interesting. And yeah, I mean, you could see that everyone from Zalando's side to Nike side to my side, there was just so much unknown, you know, and yeah, it was quite interesting. But then moving on, so Nike didn't actually have scans of the shoe available. So what we did was we 3D scanned the shoes. We used a glass texture and made them spin around the head. Yeah, and I can show you that after on my Instagram. But after we did that, and after the you know, scavenger campaign happened, Nike also asked us to do a workshop. So we did a filter workshop where we taught people how to make a filter with like specific assets from Nike. This tutorial is actually available through this link. And again, you'll get this presentation, so you can visit this link at any time, follow along, stuff like that. You can see me, my Inez, and Danny all kind of going over different portions of it. But yeah, I can maybe click on that now just to give you an idea. so we went over it. We go over like how to use templates, how to put different objects on the face, how to track their face. But yeah, we'll go over some of this as well when we look into Spark. Not making the specific filter, but how to use a template, and also how to, go over different things you can do in it. So then what are the possibilities of filters in general? So we looked at the Nike project, and after this we can also, actually maybe now, we can kind of look over so this is a video of all the filters. So this was Danny's filter, this was my filter, and this was Inez's filter. And yeah, it was really fun to see how we all took a different approach to this campaign and all had very different outputs, of what this could look like. And just what this Air Max said to us in terms of visual aesthetics. And so yeah, then going back to here, what are the possibilities of what you can do with filters? So this is expanding all the time. So I was part of the beta program just at the end of Spark. But since then, like since 2019 and 2018 when it actually started, it has grown immensely. So the possibilities of what you can do, they keep updating it like once a week, twice a week sometimes. And it just keeps getting better and better. So now is an even better time, I think, to start in filters than before in many ways, because just the possibilities are so much greater. They've added like hair segmentation recently. They've also done like a lot of stuff with render pass, which is quite interesting. So yeah, they're most popular on the face, but things like hand trackers, which is only available on Facebook filters, but those can be used as well as plane trackers. So plane trackers are pretty interesting as well. I'll show some filters that I've made with those that are really nice actually and can lead to a different experience akin to VR in a lot of ways. But moving forward, which ones perform best? So yeah, I'm sure that everyone remembers like a little while ago, some months ago, for example, like the random filter, like which cake are you, which Hello Kitty character are you? Ones that are fun are often the ones that perform the best. It's not always the ones that are most complicated. And it's oftentimes ones that are on the face because, it's creates more of a connection to people when they see their own face, and it does funny things. Yeah, it is though impossible to fully predict what will go viral. So that's also a good thing to communicate to clients as well if you are making them. To maybe not make it overly complex, because usability, and I have this coming from like a UX and UI background, but usability is so important, and someone's ability to understand what to do with the filter right off the hop, because if it's too difficult to understand or too complicated or takes too long, that's like a greater barrier to entry for people to use it. So oftentimes ones that are the most simple are kind of the most viral. And so it depends on the intention of the filter. Is the intention for it to go viral and be used by a ton of people, or is it to create more of an experience and something very specific within a brand or campaign? So Instagram versus Facebook. With Spark AR, you can upload them for either Instagram or Facebook. Instagram does give much better like ROI than Facebook, but Facebook has more capabilities than Instagram. Like I said, hand tracking and a bunch of other stuff like that. Yeah, so it really depends on your use case. In terms of visibility, though, like Instagram, hands down. So pitching to brands. So this is important for anyone who wants to use this to supplement their income or to, potentially make a pivot in their career for. So pitching to brands, while many brands recognize the value in Facebook filters and Instagram filters, for some, it still is quite a new medium, and it can leave them feeling slightly tentative. Some benefits to creating filters include, for Instagram, they always link to the brand page that they're hosted on. So if they're hosted on the, website of the brand, then it's much easier for them to be able to, just follow the brand, see what else is there. It can be a really fun way to engage with current followers. And it's an easy way, if the filter does well, to engage with a large audience outside of current users. A common path that some brands take to make a filter is sometimes they make them overly branded, and it feels more like an advertisement. I think that this is, again, something that brands tend to do, but I think it's actually detrimental to the filters in general. And to the usability of them, because you want them to feel authentic. You don't want them to feel like an advertisement. People don't want to feel like they're being used for advertisement purposes. But yeah, again, it's up to the brand to kind of decide that at the end. Budgets and timelines. So with some filters, they're easier to make than others. And now, especially that they have, different templates available and stuff like that. Like some of them you can turn around pretty quickly, but some of them still do take quite a lot of time, especially if you are, for example, designing 3D stuff, like custom 3D stuff to put in there. Like for example, the shoe for Nike, we had to get that 3D scan, we had to clean it up, we had to do like a whole bunch of stuff to that. And that took quite a long time then at the end of it. Whereas if you're using like a prefabricated 3D object that didn't have anything you had to do to it and you just could insert it, that's going to take a lot less time. But let's look at this. So for budgets, for a corporate client, like for Nike or Adidas or whatever, like 2 to 5K for a simple to moderate filter, I think that's pretty fair. If it's an incredibly complicated filter, like custom 3D modeling or complex coding for all of those coders out there and stuff like that, 5K is totally reasonable for that stuff. Like, especially with 3D modeling and stuff like that, which maybe I'm more familiar with than the coding aspect, but like some things take many, many days to model, and that's time that has to be compensated for. Outside of corporate clients, I definitely have made filters for less than this, like for fundraisers or for, small independent music things. They don't have those kinds of budgets. And I also think that with stuff like that, you kind of have to take each project and each client at face value and see what works in that situation. I would say for timelines, 2 weeks for like the initial build is like a good timeline to give. And then 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks generally for Instagram's approval process. Instagram, sometimes it's a little bit tricky because sometimes, they use bots for approving things. It's always good to have a little bit of time padding because you truly never know. Sometimes with Instagram, like certain things are not approved and it doesn't make sense because it's actually not going against any rules. And then you have to like write Instagram and like file a complaint and sometimes it takes them a while to get back. So I would always give a little bit of extra padding and communicate that to the brand or the client up front beforehand. So uploading a filter. I'm actually going to update this when I send the upload the filter, but 400 by 400 now I think is like the better option. Sorry, I'm gonna quickly just edit this slide and then for you guys recording, I'm gonna edit it and then I'm just gonna re-say this one slide, okay? Okay, so I'm going to redo this one right now. Okay. Okay, so yeah, for the icon, on the upload page, there will be minimum size requirements. These change sometimes, so definitely make sure that you're paying attention to that there. The exported file, filter file, this can be exported straight from Spark AR by the creator and sent to the brand, or if the creator has access to Spark AR, they can upload it straight to the website. You need to also have a preview video. So I'll go over in a second Spark AR in the backend, and we can kind of take a little look at this together. But you need to give a preview video so that people, when they're looking at the filter, they can understand what's going to happen in it. And, you know, this is the video that when you go to a creator's filter tab, this is what you see. A name, you'll need to name the filter, access to the brand account, whether it's you or the agency you're working with or the client. Someone has to have this linked to, you know, Instagram, and they have to be able to upload it. There are some tips here on submitting. So these are linked in the presentation, but we can quickly look over, yeah, maybe just some of these effects here. So this was a popular filter that I had. It was called Canceled, and yeah, essentially it was a pretty simple filter overall. But yeah, just kind of a social commentary on, you know, nipples and censorship, and that censorship being particularly directed at like non-male looking bodies. But yeah, then we can go into marketing strategies, and we'll go back into the Spark AR backend in a second. But marketing strategies. So for anyone here who is working in marketing, working in agencies, working in fashion brands, and they want to learn a little bit more about how to sell this to brands or how to include it in a campaign, like this is a really good portion here for that. So tips to ensure ROI. There are a couple of things that can be used to mitigate potential low usage of a filter. So one of the biggest ones I would say is influencers. So when I was working with Nike, they, in addition to hiring us to make the filters, also hired influencers to use the filters and promote this campaign. You know, so an influencer would be hired to say, oh, hey, here's this campaign by Inez Alpha and Intersexy and Tabitha Swanson, and they would use all of these filters. And then, you know, if they have 100,000 followers and say they have like 20,000 people watching their stories, that's 20,000 impressions in Spark's backend, which then like gives more exposure to the filter. And games and competitions with a follow-up. So also, for example, with the Nike project, having an end goal and something, an additional reason for people to use this filter. So you can win a shoe, or you can be tagged in the stories, or something like that. And yeah, that's a really great way to just have another reason for people to use it, because there's so many filters out there right now. And yeah, it's important to diversify and to kind of, yeah, give additional reasons to use it. For analytics and measurement, so anyone working with a campaign and working in an agency, you already know this, but you always have to give analytics and like ROI on all this campaign stuff to validate these decisions and validate why you're doing certain things. So yeah, as we saw in the Spark AR Hub, there are analytics. So we'll go over that now. So looking at this canceled one, maybe again, you're able to track in the timeline, you know, what the usage was like. So for example, when this was used on you know, on the 14th of August, this went viral, you know, and it got like over 150,000 impressions. all these opens, captures, etc. So this is an overview of the analytics. There's visibility, so you can double check which platform it's on. You can toggle on and off if it's visible. The details, this just gives like stuff from when I uploaded it, the files, if I wanted to download the file again, and the activity log, which I haven't done anything here for. But yeah, you're able to, as I mentioned, go over like the last 7 days, the last 28 days, etc., and really just see what's going on with this filter. And yeah, so as anyone working in marketing, like that's super useful. Yeah, here's a screenshot. It was recently updated just the other day, so this is what it used to look like a couple days ago. Yeah, you can see all of your available filters. You can see if they've been accepted or not. You can see the impressions, captures, shares, and it's a really good snapshot of what's going on here. We can see this, which I've shared, and you'll be able to look at this after in the presentation, as I said. And so filters outside of Instagram. So this is a good overview of, you know, we've gone through the filters that are available on Instagram and Facebook, but we know that there are other filters out there like Snapchat, like TikTok. You know, there are all these other apps as well that are standalone apps that are specifically just for filters. So Snapchat has Lens Studio, which is a program used to create filters specifically for Snapchat. It's a little bit different to Spark AR's software. TikTok, as far as I know from like a few weeks ago, it's a closed platform. I have a link and have access to make filters for there, but I haven't gotten around to it yet, so I can't speak so much to that. But yeah, TikTok censorship is even stricter to Instagram's. So Q&A period, maybe we'll do that live, or we can edit this portion out. But yeah, that is all for this presentation. So let's maybe get into making, a filter for ourselves and going through the Spark AI software. So we're not going to have a specific filter in mind, but I'm going to go over some of the templates, where the different tools are, some learning resources for Spark AI filters. Yeah, and just kind of a very general overview of the software that will give you the tools to really look into it and learn if you want to, discover a little bit more. So let's pop into there. I am going to exit out of here and open Spark AI Studio. So with this, in order to use this software and this program, you will have to log in with your Facebook account. So you do need Facebook technically to be able to use this. Most people do. If you don't, you can just make like a burner account or whatever in order to be able to use it. But on this first initial page, we can see all of these templates here. So they have featured templates, but then they also have a bunch underneath as well. And for these, again, it's a very easy way to start off with filters and just take a peek through them, kind of break them down, see how they work, customize them to your own needs. But of course, there's also so much more than this that you can do. But maybe we can start with a background one. So I'm going to click on this. We're opening it up. We can see, so we'll go over what we can see. So right here, we have kind of our window of what it looks like if we were to be on a phone screen. So we can go through all of these different devices. If we want to see what it looks like on a, Android, Samsung Galaxy, whatever, anyone who works with like UX software is probably pretty familiar with this concept of viewing prototypes. We can see here that in this workable area, this is like the concept of a phone, and then here is like the phone screen and kind of the artboard around it that's not visible. We can view from the different angles. Bird's eye is kind of just what I keep it on generally. And then all of these are just like how you can filter different things. I'm not going to go through that too much right now, but what I am going to go through is how to make this your very own. So here you can see device in the scene tab. So it's collapsed at the moment. The ambient light is here. You can kind of see a little if you toggle it on and off. Directional light, not really visible in this sort of a filter, but these are kind of the standard things. This is the user layer, and how this is working is it's, has a material, and it's using the camera texture and segmentation, which I won't go into too much right now because I think it's a bit too complex, but there's information on how that works online. But the background. So this is what we want to do. This is what we can, use to customize it and make our very own background. So when we click on this background layer like this, it's going to show in this right-hand sidebar, right here, materials, background material. And you can also access that from here, where it says background material, and it takes you straight into there, or again, you can just double click here. But it comes, as the template says, like already labeled, replace me. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put one of the Fashion Week backgrounds in here, because I think that will be fun. You can even just drag and drop stuff in there. Maybe we'll bring a couple in here and just see how it goes, what we like best. There we go. I'm going to click no compression for now. Sometimes compressing can take Spark AR a long time, and it can be really useful to compress things, especially if images are very large. But if you don't have to compress it, you can also just say no compression, and it's going to stop like this process, which can make it non-exportable. But okay, back to the background material. I'm going to say, I want it to be, this one. And then I want to see what it actually looks like on my face. So if you click on this in the very leftmost sidebar that says video, and then you click on FaceTime HD camera, it'll show your own face here. Whoa, look at that. So I can see myself, I can test it out. Yeah, and you can really upload any sort of background image in here that you want to. So say you want to, go on a mini vacation, and let's do that now. So we'll go on a beach scene. You want to do this and go on a mini vacation. Save it in the downloads. We'll just drag it in here. And again, I'm just going to click no compression. And we go into the background material, and we just click on tropical beach scene. Maybe another point to say is, here we have it so that it is compressing the whole image. You can edit it in Photoshop or whatever to make it not do that, or using other options within, but this is just a quick guide to that. So yeah, we have a little filter we've made, and feel free to drop any image in there. And it's just a fun way and kind of a quick and easy first start into using filters. So we'll go over maybe another one in a second, but I'm going to show you right now how to upload it, because that's the next step, when you're all done and you're like, hey, I love this tropical scene, I love this beach scene, what you got to do first is you have to, so whichever, platform you're going to upload it to, if it's Facebook or Instagram, you can just click send here, and it will send you a test link so that you can look at it on your phone. And then you can test it out. You download that video and you send it to yourself, so that you can upload it in the uploading process. I'm not going to do that specifically right now, but you'll get the idea. And here's a test link. If you want to share it with a client, you copy and paste this test link. You can give it to them. And then say you've got the test video, you've shown it to the client, it's all approved. Then you can upload it and export it. So we're going to just click this button here. And it's going to give you a review of if it's okay to be uploaded or not. So for Instagram, as I mentioned, like the capabilities are less, like the size requirements are different from Facebook. You're only allowed to have 4 megabytes, which is actually really little if you consider that like some images are 4 megabytes and like some 3D objects are like extremely large. You have to be really aware of what you're putting into a filter, because you might spend so much work on a filter and then you try to upload it and you realize, oh my gosh, it's actually like 20 megabytes. And then you have to redo a bunch of it or like take some things out. And that's especially difficult if the client has already approved it, because then you have to do this whole approval process again, and expectations are shifted, and et cetera, et cetera. So really good thing to keep in mind. So say I wanted to publish a new effect, then I have this, or if this is an old effect that I'm just updating, I can click that there. So you can export the file if you need to send it to a client, but you can also, if it's like a personal filter or you have access to the client's account, you can just upload it straight from here. So I'm going to click on this upload button. And it sometimes takes like a minute or two. Don't be too concerned if it, takes a moment to fully load. But yeah, here you can give it the name. So name, here's the file. You can choose which platform you want it to upload to. You can select categories, so like immersive and appearance, selfies, whatever you think is useful. You can add some keywords. And then here's where you would put the test video that you took. And when you do, that will show up here. And it gives you a little preview of what it's going to look like. And again, you do have to have an icon for it. So yeah, minimum 200 by 200 pixels. Yeah, and when you do, it'll show up here as well. And here's a really useful tip, or maybe not a tip, but just something to be aware of. You can have it published as soon as possible, or for example, if you have a campaign like the Nike one or a Reebok one that I did, or anything, you can make sure that the date and time are set. So say it needs to launch in 3 weeks time at like exactly noon, like 12 p.m. You can set it to do exactly that. And so that it won't be available beforehand, and that like it can launch really strong all at once. And then you need to just put a couple words in here as like instructions for the viewer. So if you want to put like background effect, tropical island, etc. Also the legal agreement. So it says, by continuing, I agree to all of the terms. Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea to just look through them at least once, at least on the first time you're uploading a filter, because yeah, these platform capital, right? They have so much power over our lives, and it's, I think, just good to be aware of what you're signing up for by agreeing to use these sorts of things. Yeah, so that's how you upload. Maybe we can go over a couple of the other templates here, and then I'll show you a really good group on Facebook to go to for help and stuff like that. So we're going to open from a template. we are gonna say eye color. So this is a really fun one. Here we go. I'm gonna close this and I'm not going to save it. But of course, if you plan on keeping it, make sure you save it. Yeah, but I'm not going to. So here we have the eye color template. And again, this is a super fun one. So in here, we can see, we click on this here, it's called a block. And in the eye color one, I'm gonna change it to my face. Whoa, it's, you know, purple. So again, like it's tracking my eyes. It can tell where my eyes are. So we can do a lot of different things here. Yeah, and this can be quite fun, and you can really have fun with it. You know, you can make it a little comical or something. It's a bit funny. But yeah, there's so many options to play around with here. And changing eye color, I mean, that's always a popular one. If you've always wanted green eyes like me, yeah, you're totally able to make that happen in this digital reality. And it's very easy to do, right? So yeah, that's a fun one. I'll go over another one. And again, I'm not gonna save this, but just card. Okay, so here's a makeup one. Again, we have another thing called a block, and this block is for the makeup. So I'll change it to my face again. I like doing it on my own face because like it just gives me like a better idea of how things interact. Yeah, eyeliner color. Maybe I want black eyeliner instead of blue. My lips, I want them also to be, you know, spooky Halloween colors. Oops. Looks like we're frozen. Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna turn this to black actually. And then I want this eyeshadow color to be orange. Again, I love Halloween, so I'm gonna be spooky today. Yeah. And then you can have fun with it like that. Another thing I want to show you is quickly how to use the asset library that's available through Spark. So if you go down to this right-hand sidebar and you click on Add Asset, it's going to allow you to access this menu, and in it says Spark AR Library. So these are prefabricated objects that you can add. They're made by, you know, people who've made these things before and they've uploaded them for public use. I'm curious what's in this food one. I've never been in that tab actually before. Okay, wow, a lot of weird things in here. You know what I want? I really want I really want a jack-o'-lantern. I really want to stay on this spooky Halloween theme. So I'm going to say pumpkin. I'm going to say import free, and it's going to say downloading. And when it downloads, it'll say done. You can exit out of this. And it will show up here in your assets. So here it is, pumpkin, 13 pumpkin. What I'm going to do is I am just going to take this and put it here so that it's a child of the face tracker. Okay, so we can see here that it is following my face. But of course, it's like it's not where I want it. So here, if you have this tool here, you can, if you click option and then you move it around on your trackpad, you can control like where it's located. And if you select it, you can see here that it has an arrow for you to be able to do that. And that can be good. Sometimes it doesn't give you the most accurate results. So sometimes what I enjoy doing is just putting the numbers in here. So I'm gonna click 1, that's too high. I'm gonna put 0.1, and it's a little bit above my head. We can see there's like a rotation set on it. Yeah, it really depends on what you want, I think. Let's see here. I'm gonna rotate this pumpkin around. Ooh. And folks, like, I'm a Halloween fan all year round. So November, December, I'm still gonna be making these spooky filters. So even though it's November when you're watching this, yeah, feel free to play around. So clicking on this pumpkin again, I'm gonna make it like 0.2 or 0.15, and I'm gonna make the scale smaller. So I want it to be 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Cool. And then if I back up a little bit, we can see that this little pumpkin is following my head. And again, like for a client where you have to make custom stuff, of course, it's not going to be as easy as just like accessing a pre-made, a prefabricated asset. Like you wouldn't do this. But for personal filters, it's fun, and it's, as we've seen now, it's pretty straightforward. It's easy to do these like very simple, straight-on ones. Again, though, if you're working on like a client filter, I would generally suggest putting a lot more work into it, because yeah, these are fun but still pretty basic. Yeah, so I'm gonna exit this program, and I'm not gonna save it. But again, please feel free to save it and upload it if you want to. Oops, sorry, discard. But yeah, that's that. If you want to learn, there's a Learn tab here, and you can go over so many different things. They have a lot of really great tutorials here and explainer videos. Yeah, on Facebook as well. They have the creator community, so you can just click there and it'll take you straight to the Spark AR community page, which you can look through. You can search different things, you can ask questions here. But yeah, so I think that is probably, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then, yeah, I think I'm back on video. But yeah, that I think is kind of the end of this presentation for now. So thank you so much. And yeah, if anyone wants to share their filters with me later or ask questions later, totally feel free to reach out to me via like Instagram or yeah, anything like that. And always really happy to see what people are up to.
Thanks a lot, Tabitha. That was very, very interesting. E se vocês gostaram desse papo e querem acompanhar os outros, não deixe de visitar brifw.com e acompanhar toda a nossa programação. Até mais!